Hi, guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. We help Muslims and non Muslims to handle Islam in the 21st century. My name is Mustafa, and this is my co host in the nick of time. If you wish to talk about Islam, the ideology, you have come to the right place. We cover current Islamic news, Islamic scripture, some crazy comments, and a weekly topic about Islam to examine, critique, and analyze. If this is not enough Islam for you, please drop by our Discord to discuss any further questions about Islam. We condemn any form of discrimination, violence, misogyny, slavery. However, we do embrace free speech and criticism if it's factual and correct. Thank you for stopping by and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show.
Hello.
Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, evening. Hello, Stops, aka Ali bin Abu Talib, who has joined us today.
Hi guys, how's it going?
It's going good. It's been a crazy week. And we're just gonna gather a few things. How have you been? How have you've been on hiatus?
Terrible. We're renovating. I've got the builders coming in tomorrow morning, so I need to get up in 6 hours. So I'm not going to stay too long.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, like we are. Dick, don't steal Stops's crazy old man, avatar. But yeah,
I'll try my best not to.
all right. So I think Nick, we had something to respond to what Daniel Hakikachu posted regarding the abortion ruling, aka Roe v. Wade.
Yes, let me open that image here.
That's a
boy.
scandal.
Basically,
Oh boy. So of course, Supreme Court ends that, but like, what does Hakikachu say?
alhamdulillah, great news. Hopefully, all states will ban this satanic practice.
Wait, I can't see it.
It's right here.
Oh, what? Oh man, it's like
That's how it's screenshotted.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, actually no. Alhamdulillah. Great news. Hopefully all states will ban this satanic practice. Hang on. Okay, so this man right here. Let me just share the screen of the abortion rulings in Islam. That is. So the share screen, and this is from alislam.org. So alislam.org, maybe it might be due to might have some Shia, what do you call it, preferences, but yeah, there's some interesting rules. So here's some rules. So of course, in Islam, it is forbidden or haram to abort the fetus, and if this is done, this would result in a diya. Now, what's a diya basically? So a diya is blood money. So blood money is owed if a abortion is done. Now the diya is the responsibility of the person who was in charge of carrying out the abortion. So, but here's the if the doctor was to perform it through an operation or by injecting medication into the one through this act of his, and the child was aborted, then he is responsible. If it was the mother herself who ate pills or was to use something else that the doctor prescribed for her to take, then the mother would be responsible. Now, if the father did not know about this taking place, then the diya would have to be paid to him. However, if the father knew about it and approved of it, then the diya is the responsibility of both the mother and the father. And the diya must be given to the indirect inheritor of the fetus. Who's the indirect inheritor of the fetus? That's my question to you guys. So, what is the indirect inheritor of that fetus?
It would probably be like the.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, who is this inheritor of the fetus? So this is
due to inheritance laws, you can only have a brother, sister. You can only have your father, your mother, and your children, and that's it.
Yeah, no, it's a weird law that diya must be given if it's both parents responsible. Who are they paying to?
And I've never seen this in these Sharia inheritance calculators. I've never seen that pop up. I mean, and they're talking about a fetus, not an embryo. So
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell this is.
yeah,
No,
and
I wonder if they realize that the biggest abortionist is nature. In other words, what they call God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And if anything, like God tends to end the life like that. Like if so, it's because they actually take that into weirdly into account. So it says here, if the child was to die in the womb of mother, then it is obligatory to remove it from the womb. Now, the three is if the pregnancy is a danger to the life of the mother, or would result in her becoming handicapped, then it is permissible for her to abort the child before the time when the soul has been infused into the body. Now, this is a very strange ruling. When the soul has been infused into the body. Now, how do they come up with that assumption?
Hadith, day 42.
Oh, so it's a day 42, 42 days. So it's the 42-day rule.
Well,
Okay.
sometimes 40. So, it's
Yeah.
Allah wasn't
confusing.
quite sure.
Oh my goodness. Allow us. So he has to take 40 days to infuse the soul. Okay.
Yeah, they talk about like it's infusing rosemary into tomato sauce. Like, what they don't give us like a criteria on what it actually means to be infusing
Yeah.
the soul.
That's a sacrilege. How dare you?
Yeah. It's now it says here, however, it is not permissible to abort the child once the soul has come into the body and the fetus starts to move inside the womb. And the mother must carefully watch and give special attention to the child inside her and must make sure that it is brought into the world at the appropriate time. Now, if the child which has been aborted was 4 months old or more, then must be given the Husale Miyat. Let's see what the Husale Miyat is. So the Husale Miyat is the ceremonial bath, which must be performed if the person touches the dead body of another person after the body has become cold and the corpse has not been given a ceremonial bath. So interesting. So that was a rule for this is Husale Miyat. And mayyat. Okay, that's the word mayyat. It's just like the deathbed. And must also be provided with a coffin or a burial shroud. Must be buried. In addition, anyone that touched the body of the child, such as the mother, grandmother, or others that were taking care, must perform a husule mayyat. So if the child was less than 4 months old, then it must be wrapped in cloth without giving it a husul. Then it must be buried. If anyone has touched the body of shit, then it is better that they too perform the husule mayyat, or the which is interesting. Yeah, what do you guys think so far? Because there are some question and answers too over here. But what do you guys think so far?
Yeah, no, like when someone does take that activity of performing this, whether it's medically necessary or not, it is a very traumatic process. So
Yeah.
sitting there and having them, oh, you're going to have to sit next to this priest who's probably judging you through the entire process to say God's shaming you for this. It's probably
Yeah.
not. It's probably not adding to any of the procedure itself.
Well, that, and there's the rulings of like who has to perform the procedure. So it's like that's a bit much. So inquiries from the religious authorities in regards to abortion. So there's the question: a woman became pregnant 1.5 months ago, and the doctors have told her that her life is in danger if she remains pregnant and that she will become paralyzed. Is it permissible to have an abortion or not? And the answer is, if there's a hazard, danger to the life of the mother, then it is permissible to have an abortion before the soul is infused in the fetus. And who are they referencing?
Oh, so
Imam Khomeini. Interesting. Imam Khomeini's.
So there's one contradiction here.
Well,
What if
is
it's after the soul is infused? Does the
That's
mother just
true.
have to sit there and die?
Yeah, that's true. So there's
But
like
you can't.
yeah, it's a decent point because
But
it's
is
42.
Al Islam a Shia site?
It's a Shia site. Yeah.
Yeah, then it makes sense that it's Khomeini.
Yeah. So it's definitely. So this is what I found very interesting because a lot of people don't necessarily look into Shia rulings that much. They usually look into the Sunni rulings. But yeah, this is very interesting. And that question 2: in the event that the age of the fetus is more than 4 months old and continuing the pregnancy is a hazard to them, it is permissible to have. Is it permissible to have a medical abortion or ending in the event it's more than 4 months? Okay. In this case, it is not permissible after the soul has been infused. So he's like, no, just straight up no, right here. So
Wow. It sounds like they really didn't know what they were doing. They were just trying to sort of do the best that they could, and that's it. Trying to make it, align with the traditions, but they didn't really know what they were doing. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, especially if Imam Khomeini, I don't think he's not an medical expert, is he?
Yeah, and one thing that we gotta put here is like, I don't know why they're asking this question to an imam or someone who's not a medical doctor. This discussion, I don't ask about chemotherapy to my priest in the temple.
Yeah,
this is a medical procedure medical procedure that the only person you should be talking to about is your practitioner.
Yeah. No, keep in mind though, the Khomeini is like the supreme ruler, right? Like he's one of the major scholars in Islamic law, and because Islamic law, so they kind of have no choice but to, ask him. But unfortunately, he's not an expert on it. So this is the situation we're stuck in. Especially if you're following your adherents of Shia Islam, you're kind of stuck here. Especially if you're of follow Khomeini. So in the event that okay, so in the event of the food, however, a sickness of the mother has advanced quite a bit, and continuation of her pregnancy would result in a definite loss. Is it permissible? Wow, same ruling. Once the soul has been, it is not permissible. Jeez, like no buts, no budging whatsoever. Question 4. In the event that there is a possibility that the mother would succumb to a natural, acquired physical, mental, psychological problem in relation to her becoming pregnant, for example, various hereditary illnesses, or which would result in from those found below, is she permitted to make haste aborting the child? Now, from the viewpoint of the age of the fetus being more or less, is there a different ruling? And if one defects, one of those mentioned, is confirmed to occur, then is it permissible? Wow, just straight up, it is not permissible to abort a fetus. It makes no difference, and it makes it any of the scenarios given. Wow, just wow. In the event that it is possible that there would be some form of defect in the fetus, is it permissible to go forth with aborting the child? And in this issue, is there any difference if the fetus is younger or older than 4 months? So it says here, in the examples mentioned, there is no religious sanction for aborting the fetus, and in relation to the forbidden nature of the abortion from the point of view of the Islamic legislation, there is no difference if the fetus is younger or older than 4 months.
But what is it with these 4 months? Do Shias have a different ruling? Do they take because in Sunni you also have this 40-40-40 rule, okay? It's 40 days nutfa, 40 days alaka, and 40 days mubda. So if you take that together, then you have 120 days, which is 4 months. Is that for them the cutoff when the soul is actually complete? Do they have a different ruling?
I think it's the 120 days that I think with the Shia Islam, this is what I'm getting out of this, is that 120 days seems to be the ruling. Because we were speaking to another friend of ours who's also a Sufi as well. So I think he said something along the lines of the up to 120 days is allowed. And it's like the up to 120 days. But then there are some weird exceptions in the middle. So it's very strange. So the 4-month rule, like the Shia Islam, I think it generally goes with the 4-month rule. So
I wonder what it says about the completion of the soul or something.
Yeah, because like it's more here like they're assuming that the soul has completely in the body within the 4 months. So it's like just the 4 month cutoff. So it should be similar to Sunni Islam in that aspect. Um, where were we? 6. What is the ruling of abortion on women who are sick or taking medical, such as lithium, on one day, which one day might affect your? It's still not permissible. Okay. Wow. What is the ruling in relation to have an abortion who were badly afflicted with psychological illness and then their sickness maybe it is not permissible? Jeez. I was gonna say Jesus, but just why? Just not permissible. Like, what is wrong with this Ayatollah? This is Ayatollah, right? Hang on. Let me just see. Yep, it's Ayatollah Khomeini on Islamic medical issues. Seriously, what is wrong with this man? All right, where were we? We were on. Where were we? We were on 8. Yeah, okay, we were on 8. What is the ruling having an abortion when after tests and examinations are carried out and which is made known to that the fetus has some seriously abnormal, I would say abnormal defects? It's still not permissible. Interesting.
You cannot destroy. You cannot destroy the creation of Allah unless it's a non-Muslim. Oh,
Yeah.
that can be a question for the next time. Why don't we send in a question saying, if the child is going to become an apostate, can we abort it?
Because technically that happened with the Khidr story,
With
right?
Khidr,
Like
exactly. Yeah.
in the Quran, where it's like, oh, this child was going to be a non-believer, or he was going to go away, and then God just kills the child. He does it before the event even happens, and it's like, aren't you traumatizing the parents already?
Exactly.
So,
And
yeah, you were saying?
this is gonna be a super dark thing that I'm gonna say, but like it's a really big logical fallacy. But the fact that there's a religion that's okay with honor killings post birth is not okay with aborting pre-birth due to health defects really does shock me.
Yeah. And we should cover honor.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
should
it's
cover
like
honor
bullshit.
killings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
should
was just
cover
saying, like,
honor. Yeah, you and I, we should cover honor killings in another episode too, like, what schools of thought do permit honor killings and whatnot. So we can actually, because this is an issue that, it's rarely touched upon, the honor killings.
Yeah, because this seems to be more so of an oppression tactic than it actually is about the child's life.
Yeah.
Because obviously they don't give a shit about people's lives because they're so
Yeah.
in favor of honor killings.
Yeah, no, it's never it's about control basically, because let's see, after many years, a couple was finally able to have a child. However, in the first few months, the doctors were able to diagnose that if the pregnancy continues, there is a possibility of danger to the life of the mother. If the pregnancy continues, then the child will come into the world with defects. Thus, the doctors ordered that an abortion must be. Is it permissible to act according to the opinion? Oh no. Simply having a possibility that the fetus will be born with defects is not an Islamic justification to abort a child. Oh boy. However, if one is satisfied that there is the fear of life of the mother and the opinion of the doctor who is a specialist, then there is no problem in aborting the child before the soul. He still puts the caveat before the soul has been infused into the fetus. So there's this catch before the soul.
Yeah, no, there's a special kind of rosemary in heaven that Allah uses called soul rosemary, and then inside the uterus he'll swirl it around like to infuse the scent of soul rosemary.
Jeez, yeah.
And I just found the hadith that they are referring to. They are using the one with the 40-40-40, which is Bukhari 3036, where it says mother for 40 days, then becomes a clot of thick blood for a similar period, then a piece of flesh for a similar period. I mean, can you believe that it would be this nutfa, this liquid, for 40 days? So
interesting.
This is completely wrong, okay? Then this thick blood And after 80 days, come on, this you already have an embryo which is like 1.5 centimeters long. I mean, and here they're saying no, it's still a clot of blood, a piece of flesh for 40 days. Come on,
Yeah.
after 120 days, it's nearly finished. What are you talking about? And
Yeah.
then God sends an angel who's ordered to write 4 things. He's ordered to write down his deeds, his livelihood, the date of death, and whether he will be blessed or wretched. Then the soul is breathed into him. The so-called ensoulment.
So is this the hadith that you're
Yes, this is Bukhari 3036.
3036? Is it the okay? This might be fight, no, but it says fighting for the cause of Allah. It's just so strange. What is up with these hadiths big changing? You know, 3036. One
Or do you have
second.
different numbering schemes?
Probably, yeah. What is the in-book reference or the book reference?
Jesus, I don't know. I can't see it here.
Yeah.
For this, I would have to go and enter this
Let me
here.
just-
Da, 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 da.
Actually, yeah. Here. I have something
Found it?
here. Beginning of life. No,
Here's a related question, though.
yeah.
Hi, everyone. What's the Islamic ruling in terms of if you kill a pregnant woman or a pregnant woman is murdered? Does that count as 2 murders, one for the mother and one for the baby?
Good question. This is a good question, actually.
And a
Very good
follow-up question. A follow-up question would therefore
Ah.
follow. If it is, does that mean for the first 120 days it wouldn't count as that?
Yeah.
Drastic
Because there's no
measures.
soul.
Drastic measures. It would be 1.5, one for the baby and half for the mother.
Now here's the Sahih al-Bukhari 3036. I think they've been changing up some hadiths over and over. So each
I'm
one of you,
realizing the same thing.
yeah, each one of you is constituted in the womb of the mother for 40 days and then becomes a clot of thick blood for a similar period, and then a piece of flesh for a similar period. Then God sends an angel who is ordered to write 4 things. He's ordered to write down his deeds, his livelihood, the date of his and whether he will be blessed or wretched. Then the souls are breathed to him. So the soul is breathed after who is ordered to write 40 days. And then okay, I think with the 120 days, that's why they say that based on the above verses, the jurists inferred that the soul enters the fetus around 4 months or 120 days after conception. Thus, when the fetus reaches the age of 120 days, approximately in the middle and the second trimester, it no longer remains a mere living organism, but develops potentially. So, given the dual thing, so this is from Bill of Health, Islam and the Beginning of Life. And what is the Quranic verse? Oh, it's just the same one with the Allah is the best of creators, which has a funny story of its own. The with Ibn Abisar, a very funny story, but that's another topic for another day. Moral viability. So yeah, it's I think this one is so that's the ruling, and then where were we? Okay, I'm just gonna share this again. Yeah, I'm just gonna complete this. Can you guys see this? Wait.
Not yet. And also, just if everyone is interested, I know Moose, you also had like another smaller topic. If you
The
think we can
Amman
manage,
message.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
Amman
Amman
message.
message is So the Amman message I wanted to cover briefly was that
Yeah, if you want, I actually have. So I really found this interesting video, of Dr. Shabir Ali explaining this. It's 6 minutes, so that's why
okay, yeah,
I want to
let's
make sure, like, if you want to go in the flow, I'll put up the video right after. It's a 6-minute video, and then we can do the amendment.
Yeah. Okay. So how many rulings are left? So physical deformations. It is permissible to engage in the following examples when the illness we know for sure will be the death of the child after birth, keeping in mind the estimations are not definite. Genetic illnesses, physical deformations. It is problematic to have an abortion in the given above example, as how the predictions are not definite. So it's like still a no. At what time is the soul is infused in the body? What is the ruling for above mentioned examples, and about having an abortion if it is done and the soul? This in the this is the time when the child who is in the womb starts moving, which is normally around the 4th month. So yeah, they still use the same ruling as Bukhari. So I think they do follow some aspects of Bukhari selectively in Shia Islam as well. Um, in relation to the pregnant woman who has been diagnosed with a uterine cancer, whose treatment is through radiation therapy and is known for that going would result in a deformation. To radiation therapy would result in a deform. It is permissible to abort the fetus before one starts. He says it's problematic, but it's not a definite answer. It's like you need to give a definite answer. But yeah, I think Stops is correct. Like they had no idea what the hell they were talking about. It is common in women who are pregnant and are also diagnosed with cancers. If their cancer has progressed, and if they're the fetus, and if they go forward with curing the mother, then it is done first, and the mother's life is in danger. And second, because if they were to permit the pregnancy to continue, the mother would die, and the child would then come into this without a mother. As we know, the child is in need of a mother. The cancer is in its early stages, the pregnancy in the final stages, that would wait until the fetus to such a stage. At this point, through an operation, they would take the child out of the mother's womb and bring him to the world. Then his expected due date, and he would keep under close supervision. If the pregnancy was in early stages, then would be aborted. Thus, the curing of the cancer would also have a better chance. So this is if a mother has cancer. Is the explanation given above in line with ruling of Islam or not? So here's their simple answer. If the life of the mother is in danger and the fetus has passed through the first, then it is not a problem. Also, it is not to have the child born before its due date and taking care of it in special circumstances. Interesting. So, is it permissible for women who are sick and if they continue their pregnancy, a conflict between the life of the mother and the life of the fetus would develop? And in addition, the age of the fetus is more than 4 months. However, the state of the fetus is such that it does not have the ability to live outside of the womb of the mother after the death of the mother. The child too would die. In order to save the life of at least one, meaning the mother, is it permissible for this pregnancy to be ended? Here's the answer. One must wait until the final moments to protect the life of them. And if at that time there is still no possibility of saving the life of the fetus, then it is not a problem to abort it in order to save the life of the mother. Oh boy, who quoted this? This was in 14. Who's this? 17. Yeah, Ayatollah Fadl Lankarani. So another Ayatollah. So we have got, damn it. Oof. All right. So yeah. Is not permissible. What is the regards? It is a simple question. What is the regards to abortion? It is not permissible. It is also not permissible even before the infusion of the soul, except if the life of the mother. So there is this caveat where it's not permissible even before the infusion of the soul. So there is some, unless there's some sickness. Yes, someone wants to say something.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, it's like the ruling. If people like Linda Sarsour and such say it's so like, how would you
Feminist.
say, feminist, yet somehow the Islamic ruling is different than the statement. It's none of your goddamn business. It's between the doctor and the patient at this point. If a woman wants to do it for whatever the reason, it's none of your goddamn business.
Yeah. So, and it's still like interferes with the process. And it says here, can you please explain us to scenarios in which it is not a problem? It's permissible in the following circumstances. Okay, finally we get to the permissible. According to the observation of the specialist whose word one has confidence in, the continuation of the pregnancy would result in the death of the fetus, and if the mother, both of them, however, if the child was to be reared, then the mother would stay alive. The second circumstance. If the soul
Boy,
has,
that's a weird way to say a doctor.
yeah, I know, right? The special of who one has confidence in. Man, if the soul has not been yet infused into the fetus, and according to the observation of the specialist whose word one has confidence in, if the fetus was to remain inside the mother, then it would pose a danger to the life of the mother, or would result in the danger or pain that the mother would not be able to withstand. If the soul has not been infused into the fetus, and the pregnant woman has certainty that without aborting, she would face mental, physical, and problems, and would fall victim to great difficulty and trouble. In this event, it is also not improbable that abortion of the fetus would not be forbidden. Okay, in this event, it is also not improbable that to abort the fetus would not. So this presents a very difficult legal situation from an Islamic point of view. It's like it's not a definite answer. In addition, all of these instances, if the abortion does goes forth, and the diya and the kafara would be required, would be the responsible person who performed the abortion. Now, what is a kafara? To clarify, so the kafara is a penalty. So penalty for along with the diya, which is the blood money. Where was that? Oh yeah. Yeah, question. If the pregnant woman goes through and the doctor aborts the child, would the doctor have the qasas, Islamic punishment for murder, applied to him? This is an interesting question. Now, answer 17 says no. Rather, he would have to pay the blood money, which is the diya.
That's an interesting loophole, isn't it? So essentially,
Ah.
if you're a Muslim woman who wants an abortion, just go and get it from your doctor, and then he can pay off the fine, and then you're sorted.
Yeah. So this
It's
is
a
a
very
weird loophole,
What is that?
right?
Passing the buck.
that is a really weird loophole. I'm
I
surprised.
know. I'm surprised at this loophole too, but it would also depend on how much the blood money is, right? So, because I don't think there's if you guys know of a ruling on diya or blood money, because I would love to know that, because the doctor can pay it off. Okay, if a group of doctors tell a woman that the child she has is underdeveloped from the point of view of its mental physical, is the woman permitted to abort the child or do something else so that she loses her child? It says no, it's not permissible. Now, what is your
Well,
opinion?
there's nothing really else that they can do to get rid of the child other than abort it. Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is she gonna do? Like, drink? That's not
yeah,
allowed. Drugs aren't allowed. Like, what the fuck is she gonna do? Like, get her husband to like stab his stomach?
yeah. I know, right?
Well, there are various, ways you can injure yourself to, cause an abortion,
Yeah.
which is pretty ugly, to do it. But yeah,
Speaking of which, yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, that reminded me of the Lady of the Heaven, where it shows Omar and Abu Bakr caused like Fatima, Muhammad's daughter, to get like miscarry
I'm
based on
not
this.
allowed to see that film because I live in the UK and the
Oh
Muslims have got it
no!
banned from
Oh
every cinema.
no! Yeah, we should discuss that film. Oh my goodness!
That's really pissed me off. I mean, to be honest, I probably wouldn't even want to see the film because I've heard it's supposed to be rubbish, but I almost want to, just as a, stick two fingers up at the
Yeah, yeah.
protesters.
At the protesters, and also like see at least like it's like it's the other perspective, the perspective that's not told, the story that's not often told. And
It's just unbelievable they've been allowed to get away with it, though. There's just
uh,
been no reaction in the whole country. I think there was one
uh,
politician who said, "Oh yeah, we don't really agree with this, but we'll let them do it anyway." So
yeah,
sorry, that's a diversion.
that's okay, that's okay. Now question 19 we have is, what is your opinion in specific regards to a woman who is 1.5 months pregnant and wants to abort? Keep in mind the following points. She had 4 children, and one after the other, with a gap for only breastfeeding each of them. She has gone through cesarean section for 3 of her 4 children. She has psychological problems to such an extent that most of her time at night is spent crying and weeping, which results in our entire family being upset seeing her like this. She had gone for some sort of birth. However, the child, as well as two of her other children, were unwanted and were in pregnancy, and thus, even though she was using some form of it, she still became pregnant. E, the guardian of these children, which is her husband, is also in agreement with this abortion. In the event that it is permissible, is it permissible? Please let us know what the amount of diya. In the event that it is permissible for having, please let us know what the amount of diya would be. Both of them are followers of Imam Khomeini. May Allah be pleased with them. Ooh, may Allah be pleased with them. So the answer, keep in mind the difficulties that were mentioned in the letter, such as the operations, cesarean section, psychological, and other things. Since in this scenario is one which is an indication of a difficulty which is unbearable, it cannot be said that aborting this fetus before it's 4 months old would be haram or a sin. Rather, due to the ruling of it being unbearable, the prohibition is lifted and it's permissible to have the abortion, and the diya is upon the person who actually performs the abortion, and it must be given to the inheritors of the fetus, so aka the doctor. Thus, if the abortion is performed by an injection, then the diya is upon the person who gave the injection. If the abortion is through pills and the use of medication, then it is upon the mother herself, who has taken up the medication in this case. Since the mother herself is the one who performed the abortion, she would not be entitled to receive any of the inheritance. In any case, if the abortion is performed without the consent of the father and mother, and what has been stated in the first scenario, done by injection, and if the second scenario, the father forgives, where the mother has performed, then the diya would not be liable. The father has to forgive in this situation. Now,
hang on. Are you saying? I mean, you're not allowed to have an abortion, but if you do, you just need to pay a couple of bucks. But then, if the guy forgives, then you don't.
that's
that's what I was thinking. That makes sense.
It's like if the abortion is performed with the consent of the father, what I've been saying.
How
Or
can the
in the
father
second
give
scenario.
consent if abortion is not allowed?
Yeah, and
exactly.
And in the second scenario, the father forgives the diya, where the mother, then the diya would not be liable. So the father
So
forgives.
there's no blood money in that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This
It's
doesn't
like
make
the
sense.
same thing with don't send your slaves into prostitution, but if you do, it's also okay.
Yeah.
it's actually this interesting loophole, right? Like this is a very interesting loophole. Now, question 20. The present organization of doctors in Iran, in a letter to the courts of the city of Qum, and so this was a letter that they sent in Iran and the city of Qum, that Mrs., the daughter of the attached sign, mentioned that due to her own desire and that of her husband, they have requested an examination to go through medical abortion for the following reason. So in Iran, they sent this letter. 1.5 months pregnant, she has great deficiency in her aorta valve. She has gone through a transplant of this valve, and through the examination of the specialist and medical, it has been confirmed that the continuation of her pregnancy will be life-threatening. Can you permit medical
So they sent
abortion?
this to God or what?
Oh no, they sent this to the courts actually, city of Qum, and
So the city of Qom can go and change the word of God if they see
interesting.
fit.
Oh no, the
Wow.
organization, yeah, if anything, because the Qum is the center of the religious studies, right? Of the mullahs and the ayatullahs. That's where the center is.
Yeah, but
So
who makes the rules? Is it God or is it the organization?
it's the ayatullahs that are making the rules here. As simple as that.
Can't be true.
Yeah. That's the
They
case.
sent a letter.
They're just
actually-
making it up as they go along, aren't they?
Even though
But look at the answer to that though.
even
Sorry, you're about to read it. Go ahead.
yeah. I'll read the answer, which is interesting. Like you
It's
said,
ridiculous.
even though it is completely forbidden to have an abortion, it is considered as a sin if it is performed. It is classified as the killing of a person, and in no way it can be permissible.
But Moose, let me stop you there because if you look at it, it says it's considered a sin if performed after the 4th month. So it's forbidden no matter when, but only considered a sin after the 4th month.
After the fourth
So how
month.
can it be both forbidden but not be a sin if you do it? in the
It's
first 4
weird,
months.
right? It's so weird. Like the days, that is, they've actually, even though they have a 120-day cutoff point, it's like even before it's still forbidden. You're still not allowed to. So it's like,
But it's not a sin if you do it. So what's the point in forbidding something if it's
I
not classed
don't
as a sin?
know. I don't know.
And what is the punishment?
Nothing.
Yeah, I think the either that, or they can decide on blood money or something like that, or
No, the
uh,
punishment is you have to get letters from the Organization of Doctors of Iran. I think that'll be your punishment.
and Stops,
This is weird.
you've spent some time in Iran. Have you been to Qum by chance?
No, I haven't.
Oh no, I've actually been to Qum, and oh boy, it's a very religious city. It's more religious than Tehran. If anything, Tehran I found relatively, like, chill compared to Qum.
No, but hang on. My time was before 79. Remember
That's
this?
true. Yes, that's true. Because when I
Totally
went, it
different
was,
era.
yeah, when I went around 2009, 10ish, 11, between that time. So it was after it was a very different Iran. Like you and I, we saw very different Irans.
I mean, girls were wearing mini skirts and high
Mm,
boots and stuff.
yeah. No, it was crazy. It's a crazy transition. Let's see how it is done. Okay, so by having a sonogram of the fetus that is inside the stomach of the mother, it is made known that the child is physically disabled after birth. He will be a stick of meat, and will be left inside, will not be able to do anything productive, and will also have no sort of intelligent understanding of procession. Thus, please let us know: is it permissible to abort the fetus if that is before the soul is infused? If this child comes for and then becomes, is it permissible to not go for any sort of medical treatment so that it will die sooner, thus will be freed from the pain and suffering?
What?
Did he
Yeah,
actually use the phrase "a stick of meat"?
yeah.
And child.
Is that halal meat or what?
I don't know. I don't think
They are
so.
confusing embryo with fetus, with child, with a stick of meat, with all sorts of things here.
Oh my
Need to be
goodness.
at that barbecue.
Yeah. In reply to questions A and B, it is not permissible. And Allah knows best. Who answered this question? Allah knows. Ayatollah Safi Gulpegani from Islamic Yas, another Ayatollah, said, it is not permissible. Allah knows best. So remember, Allah knows best. And if the doctor realizes that the fetus, now, okay, this is S22. How many questions? Right? I think this is the last one. Okay, so there's three more rulings as well from what do you call it? Wasail Shia as well. So Imam Sadiq. So this is from Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, allegedly. Um, so this one also we can go towards. Now, the last question: if the doctor realizes that the fetus is in the womb of the mother, has a physical defect, and he has to inform the parents of this, then there is a very strong possibility that they would go forth and abort the child. And there is a very small possibility in relation to the curing of the physical defect. And if he does not tell the parents, then the parents will complain to him and that they were not informed of the health of the child. Wait, what? So the doctor realizes it, but that they would go forth with the oath. If he does not tell the parents, then the parents will come that they had not informed of him. Please let us know the irresponsibility of the doctor.
According to Hippocratic Oath, he has to serve all people no matter what their decision is.
Yeah.
He's
Since
not
he
the judge.
Yeah, since he does not know that they would go forth with the abortion, there is a possibility that they may try to find some cure. Thus, it is permissible to tell them, and if the parents go forth, then the one who's responsible for the act would be the one who actually performs it.
Yeah, but then it's Allah. I mean,
Yeah,
Allah should inform them. Listen, I screwed up. I made a mistake. Sorry about that. Oops.
yeah,
Can I ask as well? So I did miss a start, so it might have come up. But has there been a question about if the woman was raped?
no, not at
Ah,
all, not
Yeah,
why
at
does
no,
that
all.
that
not?
doesn't that doesn't exist in Islam.
I don't remember.
Well, I mean, it really doesn't surprise me. I mean, even though that might be pretty crucial for, in a woman's
Yeah.
decision making, but there's not a ruling on it. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
nothing, not at all. And Wasail, so this is Imam al Sadiq's hadith, which says Allah has made jihad obligatory upon women. Thus, the jihad for a man is that he gives up his wealth and his life in the way of and gets killed. The jihad of the woman is that she has patience with the harassment and pride of her husband. Interesting
What?
hadith. Yeah,
What does that mean?
is that she has patience with the harassment and pride of her husband.
The jihad is taking the pride of her husband in her stride, or what?
I assume that means in a struggle rather than she has to go join ISIS.
Yeah,
Okay, her struggle is to do what with the pride of her husband. I mean, there's a lot of husbands who refer to their pride as something very different.
yeah. It's such a weird hadith, especially this is from one of the revered figures in Shia Islam, the sixth
Imam
Imam,
Sadiq, this is one
Sadiq.
of the top ones. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's the founder of the Fiqh Jafariya as well. So he's Jafar al-Sadiq. So this is very interesting hadith that they posted here. And it's just the jihad for a woman is that she has patience. I think the key word here is patience with the harassment and pride. But what does that have to do with the fetus?
Nonsensical.
I mean, you
Yeah.
need patience to work out any of this. I mean, it is so confusing. It's all
Yeah,
over the
no,
place.
I need the patience. I think this should be considered my jihad. Holy.
No, you just need a lot of imagination and a lot of. No, you have to have the ability to interpret anything, no matter how nonsensical it is.
Yeah, it's so so bizarre. Now there's three more rules. Aborting the fetus that has been transformed with the soul in the womb is very grave sin and is considered killing of a person. And the Islamic regulations related to qasas penalty is the diya and the kafara would be applicable. So the fine as well as the blood money.
Yeah, and Moose, we all know, according to Dr. Abdul Patel, he who kills one life has killed all of humanity.
Oh no! Remember Patel?
Oh, I
Jeez.
remember him.
Oh no! One of those. Like, it was a very disappointing interview. It was just aching to like call him out and say, "What the hell is this bullshit?" Like, I was told by Nick to behave in that interview. So yeah, Nick told. Look, Nick is the one telling me 90% of the time to
We
behave.
all paid for it in one way or another, you know.
Yeah. So if anything, and it was for Nick's documentaries, I was like, okay, I'll try to stay like nice and
Well,
say that.
yeah, no, I had some bullshit course I had to submit this for, so if he starts saying shit that'll turn me sideways in that class,
Yeah, it was for your course too. So it's like, yeah, I don't think I'll take any risks. Now, rule two: aborting the fetus before it's been transferred with the soul and is not classified as the kid, and thus it is not forbidden, it haram. However, if this act is not carried out with the consent of the father and mother, then it is an act of oppression to both of them or to one of them.
No, I'm not even going to ask.
All right.
Again, how
Bro.
is the mother and father consenting to this forbidden abortion? I just don't get
I
this.
don't get this either. And it is sufficient to state that with the teachings of Islam, according to the ahadith, and there has been mentioned, a diya has been specified for this act. And apparently, which we can tell that is the diya, blood money, would have been paid by the person who carried out the abortion. Of course, in the event that it was done without the permission of the parents. Interesting.
wait,
Yeah, you were.
I don't quite get that. Like, I really don't get this because it has to be the woman that carries it out, right? There's no way me as a man, I'm getting an abortion here. It's not like
Yeah,
they're probing me with like a coat hanger inside of me, right? It's the
yeah.
woman.
Yeah, but I
So
mean, you
like,
could push your wife down the stairs, couldn't you? In that sense, you could induce an
fair.
abortion.
It is obligatory upon the leader of the Muslims to make sure that under special that this act is not carried out. Make sure, except under special circumstances. Yeah. Of these, we can mention the following: where the betterment of the society or the betterment of the mother is involved, or preserving the laws of Allah has come to us through the Prophet and the book of the Quran and Sunnah, which would be necessitate this act. So And then there is from Mustarak al-Wasail, they quote this hadith. The noble prophet said, "It is not recommended for a woman that she force her husband to do things which are beyond his capability, and also not recommended that she complain to any of the creatures of Allah, the noble and grand, about her husband, whether this person be a close family member." So she can't even complain about her husband. This is a very interesting hadith.
Oh, can I just thank Only One to Serve? He's a long-term troll in the chat, and he's just brought up Keith Moore. And it wouldn't be
Oh
complete
no!
it wouldn't be complete talking about this kind of topic without mentioning Keith Moore. So thank
Oh
you for that.
no! Oh no! Read Keith Moore, Reveal Miracle in book. Oh my God, Dr. Keith Moore. Oh yes, the Keith Moore. Oh man, that's another area
The
to
receiver
uncover.
of 5 Nobel Prizes.
Oh no!
The top embryologist of the whole planet.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, he's even better than Kent Hovind.
Yeah, it's much better than Kent Hovind and Zakir Naik and all these guys combined together. So his word is Allah's word. To Keith Moore, like what the heck?
By the way, I need to admit that I was wrong with the soul. I somehow confused the 40 and 42 days with the
Yeah.
completion of the body. Or the shape. No, it's the shape of a human being that is apparent after 40 or 42 days. That is what I said, and I mistook that for the soul. So the soul is
Really?
3 times that.
Okay.
4 times.
So the soul is the 120 days.
Yeah.
technically. Okay.
And
So
the 40 or 42 days is when the shape of the human becomes apparent.
Okay. So that's where the ruling of the 120 days comes from. Yeah, I think that that does it for our mind-boggling, Islamic abortion. Nick, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we go to the Amman message, or was it the Dr. Shabir Ali's? Yes, Dr. Shabir Ali's video. We could respond to that.
But listen, guys, I need to shoot because I really need to get up early. I know it's silly, but they need to work on a Sunday because they're behind schedule, and
Yeah.
they need to catch up. That's why they're coming very early. So I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna say thank you very much. It's
No
been fun. It's been a
problem.
very interesting topic. Drastic Measure. It's a real pleasure to see you here.
And you
I still
Stubbs.
enjoy your videos tremendously. The way that you dig them up, wonderful. And
No
I'll see you
problem.
hopefully next week. Take care,
Alright.
take
care,
it easy,
Stubbs.
and good luck with the show. Good
All
night.
right.
See you
Good
later,
night.
Stubbs. Take care, mate.
Yeah. Let me get the video up.
Yeah, just get the video.
I mean, just while you're doing it, I have to say, in conclusion, I feel like I know less about the Islamic rules after having gone through that than I did before we started.
I know,
Come to let the
right?
Quran speak.
Confusing.
Yeah.
And these rulings
No,
are very confusing too. It's not just like some of them are clear. It's like no, but then it's like you're presenting different scenarios and they won't budge, and it just seems like they have no idea what rulings they're making.
Yeah, it just seems like they're doing it on the fly. There's no real consistency to any of it. So.
I just read the comment again. Read Keith Moore reveal back.
Only, in case you didn't know, Only One to Serve has been a long-term troll. He deliberately misspells every single word, and he's been doing it for years. I'm not even sure he's actually a Muslim. I think he's just like having a laugh, but he's been around for a long time.
Oh wow! No, so in this case, this man's a legend, or woman is a legend.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the video.
all right. And just a disclaimer: I actually talked with Dr. Shabir Ali, trying to get him for an interview for that disappointing Dr. Abdul Patel documentary.
Yeah, we were trying to get. Yeah, I know you were trying to get Shabir Ali, but he was busy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, at the time, and he actually personally recommended. He actually gave me Dr. Abdul Patel's personal number as a reference.
Oh
no,
wow!
yeah.
He must have really hated you, Nick.
Yeah, he must have really hated you.
Yeah, no, but he was nothing but cordial during the conversation that we had. So I have nothing. I have no distaste towards the gentleman, because
Yeah,
he's been nothing but cordial, but it's not like I agree with everything. Except because he
yeah,
was at one point an evolution denier and such, right? So
yeah. But yeah, let's play the video.
yeah.
Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
My pleasure to be on.
We've discussed Islamic perspectives on abortion, Dr. Shabir, but we want to explore it in a bit more detail. And in particular, there was a recent leak of a U.S. Supreme Court draft decision in which they overturned previous decisions on abortion. So that kind of, is an impetus for our conversation. But I understand also, Dr. Shabir, that you've been counseling some people on abortion as well, people who, might have been pregnant and then wondering what to do.
No offense to Dr. Shabir Ali, but why is he the one that's giving the counseling for it? Wouldn't it be more fit to have a woman there for the counseling?
Right. It's so weird, but then again, it's they go to the imams, right? So it's that mentality, going to the male cleric.
Yeah.
And so you might have some additional insights on that. So I thought it was worth revisiting.
Yes, I was forced to do some deeper research into this question because in the UK in particular, and also in Sweden, I came to understand the abortion laws there prohibit abortion after 24 weeks of pregnancy. And some of the tests that are done to discover the possibility of genetic deformities in the fetus are conducted after 120 days of pregnancy, or close to that. So what happens is that in Islamic law, as is well widely known, 120 days becomes a cutoff period because that is the time when it is thought that the soul is breathed into the human fetus, and killing that soul, would be taboo in Islamic law. So by the time the
Now, one question I have for this is,
Yeah.
what is the benchmark that we know? Because obviously per person is going to be different, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
what is is it the heartbeat, or is it the form of the body, or what is that benchmark that says the soul has been placed into the?
Oh, there's no benchmark. It's based on the hadith. Simple as that.
And
Yeah,
but that's a really great question, because I think in all the hadiths and all the commentary,
Yeah.
it says about 120 days. It never gives it as a definitive
Exactly.
benchmark. Hit that
Yeah.
point. So that suggests, you might be able to go 5 days over in some cases, or 5 days under. So you're basically rolling the dice whether you've committed a sin or not.
Yeah.
Because I'd assume, let's say, because if someone is brain dead, their heart isn't working or something, whatever that medical thing is, they're technically not living, right? What's the method that we use to code? There's a list of prerequisites for a doctor to say, hey, this person has coded, right? The brain's dead or whatever. They injected so amount of epinephrine and such.
Yeah.
But what's that standard for the Islamic sense, saying, now the soul has been blown if there's a heartbeat or something like that? Why isn't there a guideline?
Maybe there's a special Islamic ultrasound where you can see whether the soul has entered. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just based off of the hadith. That's it. Because for just the hadith, that is seen as the final word, and that's the standard that is applied.
But I mean, could a doctor legitimately say on day 122, oh well, in this case it was a little bit late, the soul hasn't entered yet? How are they going to prove him otherwise?
Interesting. Because there's no observable or measurable evidence for that, right? One cannot observe it.
Yeah, you can't see the soul entering into the fetus, can you? So it's just you could just say no, it was late this time, guys, we're fine. Innocent until proven guilty. Just prove me wrong. Show me your picture of the soul entering the fetus.
Yeah, if there's any Islamic scholars that can actually answer this, I'll be happy to listen. Saying, because at the end of the day, if a woman chooses saying, "Oh, the soul has entered the body, so therefore I'm not going to have it," what is her measure of measuring that? If she or a medical professional or a scholar can show us that standard, that would basically validate their claim. But at this point, there's no proof that any soul is entering their body according to their standards, and that doesn't really make sense for me.
Let's get Dr. Patel back on and we can ask him.
Oh yeah, we can ask Dr. Patel, like, how do you use, what's your measuring stick, What's the standard of the soul? But then he'll pull off some Dawa-related propaganda, hopefully.
But in a related issue, it's a bit like when Muslims say, when they're talking about, a young girl being ready for marriage, they say, oh yeah, well, we make sure they're ready. And it's like, well, how? How do you do that? What is the method that you employ to show that a child is ready to be married or to consummate the marriage? There's never an answer. There's no methodology. There's no way to test it. It's just, in fact, the only thing that's usually offered is if the parents think so. Well, how did
the father? Mainly the father.
Well, yeah, the father, basically, yeah. But then how does the father know? What method did he use?
Yeah. The father knows when the dowry amount is the right level.
Yeah, exactly. But it does seem to be in the same kind of category. There's no real methodology to determine whether day 120 it's happened. It's just something.
Yeah, because like this isn't something as binary as if the dowry is at a certain level or not. Like, let's say like that marriage example, they're like, oh, if the child is pubescent. Well, puberty isn't like, oh, I slept and I had a nightmare and I became pubescent. Like, puberty is something that takes 5 to 7 years from like when you're 13 all the way till you're like 17, 18, 20. Right?
Yeah,
it's an entire process.
And for the
same thing here. The child development isn't like, oh, one day the soul has been blown. Like, the child takes 9 months to develop. That's why it's in the stomach for 9 months.
But also in the child marriage situation, it's not just physically ready, it's also psychologically ready. So how do you determine if they're psychologically ready? Is there some kind of psychology test that you give the child?
Like
nobody knows.
There's a ruling, but it's not, they use it as defense that, oh, it's puberty, but it's actually for orphans inheritance, right? So there's the test that the orphan comes to maturity once the orphan male, this is only a male, has a wet dream.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So it's
I mean, you can't argue with that kind of science, can you? I mean,
but yes,
because that isn't the most advisable standard. Because, considering my maturity when I had I was bouncing off the walls, attempting to jump off random shit. Our friend, good friend Igor. You can ask him.
I remember at 9 years old. The only thing I remember was the Cricket World Cup, but I was very confused still. I was very confused as to what was going on still. I just look back at it and I'm like, okay, now I understand what's going on. Now I only had started to understand a lot of like things happening around me, like a lot of sports. I only started following that. So it's like I was still a baby. So
when I was 9, I was shooting spitballs at the back of supply teachers' heads. So it's not like the best time.
That's not a great age to get married. No.
Anyway, right, sorry guys, I'm distracted with that marriage comparison one. I know we were talking about Dr. Shabir here. So.
All right, let's continue.
These young couples have gone through this kind of testing and they're talking to counselors and advisors, and then they seek a fatwa. They're searching for Islamic scholars who might give them an answer out of this dilemma. Their child is supposedly with a genetic deformity that could be difficult for the child throughout life, and also difficult for the parents to manage as well, with hospital visits in and out and so on. So by the time they can get an answer on this, it's past the 120 days cutoff period for the Islamic law to make it permissible. Mm-hmm. And so they're in this dilemma. They live in countries where people in their situation would normally have the leeway to have an abortion up to the 24 weeks. But because they have passed the 120 days cutoff period for Islamic law, they're caught in this period of indecision and overridden with guilt and fear about what exactly to do. Mm-hmm. So I was forced to go and look more closely at the Islamic law to see.
Yeah, one thing I have to admit here is that he acknowledges at least that the people were very afraid about the decision and was open to listen to it at least.
Yeah, and at least there's and then there's this confusion, especially with the followers of the faith. There's a huge confusion that what laws do they follow? Like it does cause problems.
But the funny thing is, though, he's clearly acknowledging that the woman at that stage, if it was Islamically allowed, would still want to have an abortion. So, to me, that kind of shows, I don't know, there's some kind of issue there. I mean, Allah is forcing her to do it if it's in, day 125.
Remember, Allah's word is final word. Remember.
Yeah.
So it's it's a very interesting thing you had. It seems to contradict science and psychology and whatnot. So it's like he's at least. I'm thinking he's also trying to find ways to trying to bridge the gap, but it's not very possible to bridge the gap.
Yeah, let's continue playing.
Let's continue, yeah.
How this law was formulated and whether there is any scope for revisiting this law in any way. And in any case, to educate Muslims more about this so that people can be more aware ahead of time, so they're not caught in this, this period of time in which Islamic law is not allowing them to have an abortion, but their countries are allowing them to have an abortion. And then what should they do? Mm-hmm. So if anything can be done before the 120-day mark, well, then this is more clearly within the Islamic scope. But is there also some scope for allowing
hold on 1 second.
Abortions in cases where, for
aren't Muslims supposed to follow the law of the land that they're living in? So,
I think so too.
So wouldn't that suggest that it would be okay to have your abortion up until the legal limit of whatever country you're living in?
That's a very good question, because I think I remember Yasser Qadi pointed that out as well too. That you're living on the law of the land. So I don't know. That's a very good question. Nick, what do you have to say?
If it was my position, until the sixth, or until for me, the child becomes viable, or when the child becomes viable is when it would just hurt me as a person to abort that child. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, it would be till the 6 month to 9 month period, where if they can take that child out, put that child in an incubator and so on and so forth, until that point would be okay for me. But then again, it's whatever that law of the land, right? It's none of my business. It's a discussion between the doctor and the patient at that point.
Yeah, but Nick, in terms of guidance for Muslim women when they can have an abortion, if the general rule is that you follow the law of the land if you're not living in a Sharia state, then surely it would be okay to have an abortion beyond the usual Islamic limit.
Yeah, and they also say you gotta do what you gotta do for your own life, right? So if your doctor's recommending it for you to survive, then that's what you would do. Why would you go against what someone who studied essentially 4 years of their undergrad, 3 years of med school, then 4 years of residency, then years of experience of odd hours to get that judgment? Why would you go against it? So whatever is recommended by your doctor at whatever time period, I highly recommend just taking that option.
Yeah, it's just, it's said. So if anything, this should be permissible or allowed, given that they're in a foreign land. So this is a very good question.
Again, it's
maybe he'll cover it in the rest of the video.
Yeah, and again, it's a very tough choice, right? So we shouldn't be really saying too much about it.
For example, there is a severe genetic deformity discovered, and for other cases where there might be some pressing need to have an abortion. Mm-hmm.
And I think this series will also show some of the flexibility within Islamic law as well, because You know, there are some Muslims who look at these debates that are happening right now in the world, and especially in the United States, where it's quite loud, the debate, and they're saying, okay, Islam is against abortion, but it's not that straightforward, right? And there are many religions that have different.
Wait, did it pause?
Sorry, I was muted. I paused it. It's like, but you're clearly saying it's not permissible at this point, right? Because, like, let's say if the person does need it or wants to choose it, most of the cases you're saying no.
Yeah.
Like the woman literally, it has to literally be her last option. Why are you putting that much of a restriction on her? Where she literally has to be in a life or death situation in order to have this
But
medical procedure.
to be fair to her, though, she is right in terms of it's not that straightforward. I mean, we found that out just reading through all the rulings on it, that it seems to jump back and forth between you can do it, but you can't do it, but you can do it, or you won't be punished for it if you do it. So it is a bit all over the place. So I think in some sense she is right. It's not that straightforward.
So at the same time, like when she says there's flexibility, right? There's flexibility.
Oh.
It's not exactly flexibility. It's just like, you know.
Sorry, Moose, I can't hear you. I don't know if
Hello, can you hear me now?
you're very low.
Okay.
At least to me.
Let me just mute myself and I'll try again with my earphones.
Unless it's me. I don't know. Nick, can you hear him?
No, it's the same for me.
Okay, cool. Should we crack on with the video just while Moose is sorting out his
chat? Yeah.
Perspectives on abortion as well. And the picture is very complex, right?
Yeah.
Even within different religions, it's not just Islam. So I think that's worth pointing out too, and I hope that we'll get to explore that in this series.
Yes, and I hope that this will be especially helpful to young Muslims who are trying to be part of the public discourse, where the public discourse seems to be polarized between two extremes. One is the pro-choice, which is saying the women have a right to choice and it's their body, and they can decide whether to abort or to keep the baby. And on the other hand, there is the pro-life movement, which says that no, this is a life from fertilization, and so to abort the baby at any time of pregnancy would be taboo. This is like murdering a child, and this is wrong. So the discussion is polarized, and when a young person says, okay, I want to make a decision here, where am I going to go? So they pick one of the two extremes.
Mm-hmm.
And
if someone, and I hope to God whoever hears this is in that situation, the first person you should be going to ask this question is your medical professional. Your social worker, your medical doctor, family practitioner, family doctor, or whatever. They should be the first one to talk to you, to tell you all the medical options there.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be. Hang on, my thing is not working. I think is it? Can you hear me?
Oh no, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Yeah,
perfect. Okay. Yeah, and it's funny how and not funny, but like it's just that these crap. Where was I going with this? The polarizing of the opinions. Like I noticed that, it's also in other religions. That's kind of a weird deflection too. It's like, no, focus on your religion. Make sure you're focusing on your religion. The second thing is, it's not just like when the opposing side is mostly religious too. Like I feel like they might be afraid to admit it, but there's a lot of Christian fundamentalists who are actually pushing for this, and they kind of disguise themselves as, we're medical practitioners, blah, blah, blah. It's like this weird, like, window dressing. But, like, my experience with, in Canada especially, a lot of them seem to have more of a religious background rather than any medical background. So this, the extreme is understandable mainly because there's usually just religious people, mostly religious people that are opposed to abortion from the Christian communities, that is, Judeo-Christian communities.
I mean, I would say, I mean, I do agree with that, but I think it is important to note that there are atheists and kind of people who aren't particularly religious that are also will, you know, back the pro-life position. So I think the bulk of people are religious who are kind of pro-life. But I think it is important to distinguish and not kind of say that atheism is synonymous with a pro-choice position, because
Because keep in mind, atheism is just a lack of belief, right? But I've met atheists who are also not very in favorable of LGBTQ plus or have some hidden homophobia. So it really doesn't, because it's just a lack of belief. So atheists don't necessarily have a position necessarily. So it's like what do you call it? I think it was Dawkins who said, atheists, if you have atheist agnostics in one room, they're not a bunch of sheep, they're a bunch of cats.
Yeah, but also I think it is important that, you know, I was talking to, I saw a conversation earlier today in Discord on this very topic, that, you know, somebody was talking about almost being takfired out of the atheist community because he was adopting a, you know, because he's arguing from a pro-life point of view. And I think it's, you know, whether you disagree or not, I mean, you can't be sort of kicking people out of the atheist club because they don't happen to go along with what is probably the majority opinion. You know, it's, as you say, it's ultimately it's a question, you know, it's a one question position, atheism. So, you know, we shouldn't kind of necessarily confuse it.
It shouldn't be, but at the same time, there's also like, you know, it's like, what did they exactly say that also was, did it say it in a very problematic way? Were they rubbing people the wrong way? So we also have to take these other questions into factors.
And before we go too much off the course, we'll have this discussion right after the video, but let's continue it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My apologies. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, just want to like break the flow of the video itself.
And actually, the Islamic position is somewhere between these two extremes, and various Muslim scholars may have different positions along the spectrum within, you know, this broad spectrum of.
Yeah, I like how he described it like it's autism.
Yeah, but keep in mind, he's not wrong, because there is a broad spectrum of, like, you know, the Islamic laws and like Islamic, community that is, and like we'll go through the Amman message or the Amman points. We'll see, like, you know, it's the diverse. Yeah. So yeah, let's continue with this.
In these two extremes, but where to place one's bet within that wider scope is where people need guidance. And
because I think that debate is within the context of Christianity, and especially Catholicism. So when you end up bringing other religions into it, it gets a little bit confusing. Where does a Jew stand? Where does...
I have a quick question. This is a genuine question, which you might laugh at, but do Catholic priests want to ban abortion so badly so they can get more kids in their churches?
Oh no! Oh no! You went there, didn't you?
I can tell you as an ex-Catholic myself, no, probably not. I think they're quite happy with the boys they already have.
They're happy with the boys that they already have, and it's there was also the also not necessarily just Catholic, but also like Baptist and other Christian groups too, that are, like, you know, in this debate as well. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily like there are atheists who adopt the pro-life position, but I've seen a vast majority tend to have more religious arguments rather than medical arguments.
Yeah, I would 100% agree that I would say the majority, probably the vast majority of pro-life people will be arguing from a religious position, even if they provide, you know, try to make the medical case.
Yeah,
it would seem to be religious beliefs is what is pushing it. But I know several atheists myself who are you know, pro-life. And to be fair, talking about Catholics, which she brought up, as much as you might expect otherwise, there are, you know, when I was a Catholic, there were plenty in the Catholic community who were pro-choice. So it really isn't that simple. So I think she's
Yeah.
kind of a good, I know normally we're here to like rip on the videos, but I have to say I kind of agree with her. I think she's right to sort of point out it's more complex than that.
Exactly. Like it's a very, and I have also met some members of the Christian community who are also pro-life as well. So it's and I think it's a good sign to see. So it's a good sign that
Pro-choice, you mean?
Yeah, either pro-life or pro-choice. Like they're on both sides, right? They go with both sides, and it's like it's a good sign to see. So I think it's a very good sign. But yeah, like I said, it's usually like from the Abrahamic point of view, they usually push religious arguments more than medical arguments, because medical arguments are much better, but the core tends to be religious. So that's why the debate is muddled. But let's continue with this video.
Yeah.
There's a Muslim stand, and they'll have a different perspective than you might see in the anti-abortion debates.
Yes, and so if we have a chance to discuss the views of other religions on this subject, and particularly of Islam, then we will enrich the whole discussion for Muslim viewers, for our non-Muslim viewers as well. And, the world becomes a better place when we understand each other more, and we benefit from hearing diverse voices and different perspectives.
I'm looking forward to the series with you, Dr.
Yeah, and it'll be a learning process for me as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so overall, this wasn't a bad video from Dr. Shabir Ali. Very general, though. He didn't go into too much detail of the Islamic laws. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I thought it was reasonable. I mean, to be fair, there wasn't that much content to what they were saying. It's basically saying, yes, it's more complicated than just saying definitely yes or no. But we kind of already knew that. But it wasn't obnoxious. I thought they were okay. So.
I think Toronto took its toll on Dr. Shabir Ali. He used to be a bit more hardcore, but I think he softened up just his environment.
I think,
not saying it's a bad thing, but Toronto definitely took its toll on him.
Oh yeah, well, either Toronto took its toll, or it's this is the approach he was kind of forced to adapt or change his view because of the fact that there are. But at least I'll give it to Shabir Ali. Anytime I've seen his stuff, he's honest. Especially about slavery, he was very honest about it. I've noticed that what do you call it? It's just like he's at least one of the honest scholars. But he's not. I've signed him he's at least he'll answer you. But compared to Yasir Qadhi gets a bit slippery at times. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to put this up. Yeah, Culture Jenny, just on the side, you could argue pro-life due to various principles. Well, yeah, absolutely. You can make these arguments for the greater society, need of children, so you can make these arguments for sure.
But also, I would say there was, I don't know if anybody saw it, there was an interesting abortion debate on the Modern Day Debates channel.
I watched it. Yeah, I'm a mod on that channel, so I have to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what I thought was interesting was that you had what's his name, Richard Spencer. Is it Richard Spencer, the neo-Nazi guy?
Him.
But now you would kind of assume, being kind of a far right kind of neo-Nazi type, he would probably be arguing against abortion, but he was actually arguing the pro-choice position. And the person he was arguing against was a very left-wing progressive pagan lady who was arguing the pro-life point of view. So it kind of, obviously, Richard Spencer is arguing it from quite a dark place, because from what I understand, I think he sees abortion as a way of, reducing the non-white population, because I think in America, I think in America, it tends to be non-white people have a higher rate of abortion. So he's doing it from an extremely ugly place, although he was careful to argue it a little bit more covertly on the debate, from what I remember. But it just shows that you can have people from positions where you would automatically think they'd be adopting the other argument, and yet they can throw you a curveball. And as I say, the person arguing the pro-life position was, you know, a liberal kind of lefty progressive type who you would on instinct think would argue the pro-choice position. So yeah, it's definitely a more complicated topic than people give it
I've
credit.
even seen a nationalistic position too. Like I've seen, there is a pro-life poster where it says, "Oh,
Hey,
the world needs more
don't eat
Canadians," and
Yeah.
the world needs. I'm like, what? So, what makes you assume that we need more Canadians? It's like this doesn't matter. So it's
Yeah. Oh, and Moose, if you're actually down for this idea, first of all, Dr. Shabir Ali actually lives like 5 minutes from a certain special friend of ours.
Oh yes, he does. He does live a few minutes away from on Dufferin Street. Yes, yes. On
Yeah.
Dufferin Street.
Yeah, I don't want to really dox our friend, but and second thing, tomorrow's the Gay Pride Parade, at 2 to 4. So if you want, we can actually have a discussion about this at the parade, interview a few people and such, if we can find them there.
Yeah. But do you wanna? Yeah, that's true. But like, what's the issue we're gonna interview? Like the abortion issue, or like the LGBTQ plus?
LGBTQ plus people from religious backgrounds who opened out, and we can probably get a few interviews there. If the audience is interested in watching something like that, I'll pre-record it and release it.
We'll try to get some.
Gentlemen, can I just address a comment that was put in the chat about the G25? It was talking about suggesting that we do the show. You do the show on another day. I just wanted to say to the person who posted that, historically the Gin and Tonic show has been on Sunday in the past. It's also been on a Friday, so it's been done on 3 different days over the years it's been running. I don't think the live audience has ever been huge. It tends to be the bulk of people will watch it afterwards. So I don't know if that would really help, because obviously suggesting if we do it on a Sunday evening, there might be more live viewers. I mean, it's possible there might be a few more, but I don't think it would make a major impact. And obviously it's down to where Moose and Nick can find time to do it. So
Sunday evenings I'm usually drinking to try to wash with sorrows of it being a Monday the next day.
Yeah, and also like I think we're just getting work for ready, or just mentally getting ready, or just need a break too from the week.
I think they forget. I mean, I'm assuming this is probably somebody based in Europe. I think they forget for you this is kind of late afternoon, early evening, rather than kind of late evening where it is for the European viewers. So you have to accommodate the people who are hosting the show. So we're all on Canadian time now.
Yeah. You're honorary Canadian, Drastic. You're honorary Canadian.
Hey, I don't mind. I mean, as long as the show is still going, that's the key thing. So.
Yeah,
happy to be an honorary Canadian.
Yeah, and also he's Drastic also puts up some old episodes too, so definitely check his channel out. I think you also do shorter clips as well as the full episodes as well from the past, which I've actually checked out, which are some good episodes, like classic episodes.
I've been putting all that up, and it has been largely that for the last month because I've been busy with other things and holidays and stuff. But to say, we will be doing me and my compadres will be doing a new review of a EF Darwa video, which will be coming very soon. So our last one on Mohammed Hijab went down very well, so I'm hoping that people will be go and look. Hopefully we'll have that up in the next week or so. Sorry for the plug.
No problem. This is a free platform. This is free for plugs.
So free advertising.
Free advertisement, free speech. That's what we're here for. But yeah, I think in the last half an hour, we can technically cover this in the last half an hour, because this is the I know where it's shifting from abortion to the Amman message. Now, this is the Amman message is talking about what sects do count as Islamic sects. And I think Drastic and even Culture Jinni as well, like we had this discussion to address this.
Yes, we did. Yep, I remember.
Yeah, so we addressed this issue, and I like how this is There's a lot more, like there's the Prince of Ghazi Muhammad, there's more grand endorsements, but this is the particular point I wanted to focus on, the 3 points, which is whoever is counted. So whosoever, I'll read the first point. Whosoever is an adherent of the 4 Sunni schools or madhab of the Islamic jurisprudence, which is Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali, and the 2 schools of Shia jurisprudence, which is Jafri and Zaydi, as well as the Ibadi school of jurisprudence, as well as and the Zahiri, right? The Zahiri school of Islamic jurisprudence is a Muslim. So Zahiri is kind of a Sunni school, but it's a weird like outcast of the school. So it's it's a very, we will cover the Zahiri school in the future. So these are the schools that are counted. Notice here, Ismaili school is not counted. The Ahmadis are not counted. And I think there might be another group that might not be counted, but yeah, these are the 2. Ismailis are not seen as Muslim, according to this declaration. Now, moreover, I think someone joined us. Hi, Culture Ginny.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Hey, Ginny, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. I did just not want to join you when you were discussing abortion.
Yeah, no, this is the discussion I wanted you to join us in. So I'm reading this. Okay, so declaring that person amongst these schools, amongst the schools that I just mentioned, as an apostate is impossible and impermissible. Verily, his or her blood, honor, and property are inviolable. Moreover, in accordance with the Sheikh Al-Azhar's fatwa, it is neither possible nor permissible to declare whosoever subscribes to the Ash'ari creed or whoever practices real tasawwuf, which is Sufism, an apostate. So you can't, call someone from the Ash'ari school or the Shia Asna Ash'ari school or a Sufi. You can't call them apostates, according to this fatwa. Likewise, it is neither permissible. So if there's people who make the argument, oh, you were Shia, you're already not Muslim. No, according to this, I was a Muslim when I was Shia Muslim. All right, so likewise, it is neither possible nor permissible to declare whosoever subscribes to true Salafi thought an apostate. So even like if you want to make the argument Salafism is not Islam, no, it is Islam. It's right here. Equally, it is neither possible nor permissible to declare as apostate any group of Muslim who believe in God, glorified and exalted be He, and His Messenger, peace be upon Him, and the pillars of faith, and acknowledges the 5 pillars of Islam, and does not deny any necessarily self-evident tenet of religion. So these are the core values. Like these are the core, which is believing in the God, like the one God, Messenger, pillars of the faith. Even though there's Shia Islam, there's 7 or 8 pillars, but it's still like, there's a lot of overlap with the 5 pillar status in Sunni Islam. So as long as this is the case, there's an overlap. However, it's funny that they don't mention the Ismaili school of thought, which is very interesting. And I think this kind of automatically eliminates Ahmadiyism. So
I was about to ask, did it actually, I can't, the text is a little small for me to read, but has it's not mentioned them at all, has it? Because
because they are not considered a legitimate sect according to Amman message. And thus they can
because
be
they're denying the no, sorry, actually I was thinking of a different sect there, sorry. The Ahmadis, they deny that Muhammad is the last prophet, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's Ghulam Ahmad Qadian is not only the Messiah but also the last messenger too. So
that would preclude them then.
Yes, so that in itself is what separates them from the rest of the community. Everything else is the same.
So they're pretty much. I just want to say one thing. You notice that they have excluded all of the minor Shia sects here, except the Zaydis. And the Zaydis is because they are actually a pretty major branch, but they are pretty much limited to only Yemen. And anyway, but
Alawites too. They didn't even include Alawites as well.
no,
Alawites.
because they are a minor sect and they are not considered true. But do you know why the Dahiris, despite being even more minor than most Shia sects, were still considered here?
Why would you? Why? I think you mentioned something like this, but yes, can you state that?
It's because one of the peoples responsible for this Amman message had sympathies with the Dahiri school.
Really?
Yes. He was kind of doing syncretism, and he went into the Dahiri school and kind of thought, these ideas are actually pretty good, and so he kind of wanted to include them.
Yeah. Okay. Because like if they were just almost kicked out, except for that one person who actually liked their ideas, and if anything, I think you mentioned something about their ideas being not using modern weapons or anything like that.
Yeah, they are kind of the Islamic version of the Amish.
Yeah, they're very Amish-like. Yeah, you were saying drastic?
No, I'm just confused there because are we assuming then that a lot of the other minor groups have been excluded just because of their small number rather than any particular theological issue? Because you're saying a lot of the other minor Shia sects have not been mentioned. So
I think it's both. I think it's both that they are too minor to be important, or that they didn't have the backing of someone liking them when this was established.
Because this is interesting, because you do get that the whole apologetic of fastest growing religion and 2 billion Muslims by now, I'm sure they're claiming, which is automatically undercut if you remove the Shia proportion of Muslims. So this almost feels like a way of getting around that. It's like, okay, well, we'll include the vast majority of Shias just so we can kind of keep this whole fastest growing religion thing. And
the Alawites could be considered a subsect of 12er Shia in certain ways, but it's complicated.
It's very complicated because even the 12ers and the Alawites have some like disagreements, theologically speaking. And they're very complicated too. It's not very simple. So it's very like especially like you said, a lot of and these are, keep in mind, they only kept the majority Shia sect, which is the Jafari sect. The reason is because there's the presence of the Iranian leadership. That
they did include the Zaydis as well.
Yeah, and they included the Zaydis. So there is, I think it's also the position of leadership too, so like the leadership presence. But I'm surprised that they did not include also the Ismaili, which is actually a generally relatively the second largest number. They're more.
It's the are they more than the Zaydis? I think they are less than the Zaydis. I think they are the third largest.
I think they're roughly either the same or they're more. Or there's more presence, but
they are pretty much spread out over the entire world, so they could be more.
Yeah, because like there's a lot more Ismailis in Ismaili Shia in the African countries, as well as the North America as well, North American countries and the European countries. So there's a lot more spread out.
So all over the Middle East.
Yeah, and all over the Middle East. And keep in mind with the Ismailis, I think they might have because they have a modern leader, that also could have been, like the modern leader that got them kicked out, because this leader seems to be more in alliance with American, British, like it gets complicated because like he's also very wealthy, but he's also
the Amman message was to limit the amount of takfir and the amount of sectarian violence.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. So that would actually not really be coherent with that.
Yeah,
It's if anything. So let's read.
It's also very interesting how they mention the Zahiri school, which is a classical Sunni school, as being separate from everything else. Kind of like, oh, we were forced to include these people.
Yeah, like I think it was just that one scholar, because they were originally not going to include them, because Zahiri is a madhab of Sunni Islam. It's a Sunni madhab.
Yes.
They kind of are trying to distance themselves, the Sunni madhab from the Zahiri. So this is very interesting note here. Okay, let's finish these points. The second point is there exists more in common between the various schools of Islamic jurisprudence than there is a difference between them. Sure. So the adherents of the 8 schools of Islamic are in agreement as regards to the basic principles. All believe in Allah, okay, glorified and unique in the noble Quran, revealed in the Word of God. There are some Shia scholars that actually don't agree with that as well. So it's complicated. That our master, Muhammad, may peace and blessings as a prophet and messenger to all mankind. All are agreement about the 5 pillars, the 2 testaments of faith, the Shahadatain, the ritual prayer, the almsgiving zakat, the fasting in the month of Ramadan, and Hajj. All are also in agreement about the foundation of belief in Allah, His angels, His scriptures, His messengers, and the day of judgment. So this is usul, like, the usul-ud-din. In divine providence, in good and evil, disagreements between ulama of the 8 schools are only with respect to ancillary branches of religion, furu, like furu'id-din, and not as regards to principles of usul. Disagreement with respect to ancillary branches is a mercy. How is that a mercy? Long ago, there was variance opinion about different ulama scholars. It's a good affair. They are in agreement about a lot of things that are also furu'i, or with apostasy laws, for example, or with laws regarding child marriage, or laws regarding homosexuality, like the punishment for homosexuality. So there is a lot of overlap and a lot of agreement on these. But yeah, so this is what do you guys think of the second point so far?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of points.
I'm more surprised that they actually found some things in common.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of, they've got more that they agree about than they disagree until they want to go to war with each other. And then, those disagreements will suddenly become really important.
Yeah. And it's the last point says acknowledgement of the schools of Islamic jurisprudence within Islam, or the mazhabs, means adhering to a fundamental methodology of issuance of fatwas. No one may issue a fatwa without the requisite personal qualifications which each school of Islamic jurisprudence determines for its own ability. So basically, you have to be in one of these schools to be able to issue a fatwa. No one may issue a fatwa without adhering to the methodology of the schools of Islamic jurisprudence. No one may claim to do unlimited ijtihad and create a new school of Islamic jurisprudence, or to issue unacceptable fatwas to take Muslims out of the principles and certainties of the Sharia, and that has been established in respect to the schools of jurisprudence.
Yeah, that works until you begin to think about the fact that, for example, Ahmed ibn Hanbal himself claimed that one school can never really dominate.
Yeah.
Your interpretation of the religion, and that it's your own personal responsibility to interpret the religion.
I think that's the qiyas status, the qiyas concept, the personal responsibility, and it's your personal. How do you feel? If these.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Qiyas, the concept of qiyas.
No, qiyas is analogical reasoning.
Oh, analogical. Oh, so he has a different opinion on that.
Then. He actually rejected analogical reason. It's one of the hallmarks of the Hanbali school. But the thing is that the Hanbali, I'm actually in the process of making a video about this.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the Hanbali school, from the beginning, always prioritized personal, individualistic interpretation in a way that makes it pretty much that you can't, by definition, actually have an official canon of. You couldn't say that someone has gone outside of Islam, and the Hanbal did condemn people as being outside of Islam, but the thing is, he also condemned the idea of ijma of scholars, and he would consider this to be part of that.
Yeah, he was surprisingly, his school of thought, his own ideology seems to be very, very different compared to what we see in modern.
Yeah, but they are also not that different. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
The reason why they are so extreme is usually because they, take themselves the right to interpret it extremely. They are actually kind of similar to certain Protestant sects during the Reformation in how they interpret certain things.
Yeah, because again, I have not been exposed to Hanbali circles that much, but I've seen that the Hanbali circle or the Wahhabi and the Salafi have been extremely scapegoated a lot, even by the other Sunni groups, that is, especially in Pakistan, by the Hanafi groups.
Yeah, by the Deobandis, yes.
Yeah, they tend to scapegoat them, like, oh, it's their responsibility, but in reality, your laws are messed up too. Like, your laws are messed up as well. So you're trying to scapegoat, like, you're trying to find a scapegoat, and most of the people who approach you, you're wrong about, like, you're interpreting a wrong kind of Islam, or like, you're using the Salafi or the Wahhabi version, and I'm like, that's just scapegoating. That right there, it's a form of scapegoating.
When you read about Hanbal himself as a person, he actually appears pretty sympathetic. At least I think he is actually, among the 4 founders of the various schools, I have actually the most respect for Hanbal. Because
Yeah, you say?
He actually seems like a pretty, genuine person.
Yeah, he seems very, what do you call it? Yeah, he seems very different compared to the other schools. Like, he's still, like, he seems, it's very complex, like a very complex individual, which I kind of like, admire in a way. So it's very interesting, and unfortunately, his school is the one that's scapegoated the most.
But then again, or I'm not saying that all extremists are Hanbalis, but his school has a certain prominence among various extremist elements within Sunni Islam.
Yeah,
but historically, that has not been always the case. I would say that the Hanafis are usually much worse.
Yeah. If anything, like, within the Ottomans, we had the Hanafi school that was predominant. Then we also had the Shafi school that was very
especially in the early days of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Well, I think, doesn't it show as well? I think most of the modern kind of Dawa scene, particularly in the UK, I think they're Hanafis, aren't they? The likes of Hijab and Ali Dawa. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like they're. Yeah, I feel. What are you saying? Sorry, Jeanette.
Sorry, I could have that wrong. By the way, it's just
I think most Dawids, those that are doing Dawa, are actually usually Hanbalis. Because they get inspired by, or they are some sort of neo interpretation of Islam that is not exactly one school.
Yeah,
I'll have
to mix and match.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I'll half withdraw that comment until I check on it. I thought I heard a couple of them say they were Hanafis, but
one thing we also need to know is that the schools are not always completely proof as you belong to one school only. There has been a lot of scholars that kind of mixed and matched and did syncretism throughout the ages between various schools.
So what about someone like Yasser Qadhi? What school of thought is he from? Does anyone know?
I think he's an Hanafi.
Yeah, he feels Hanafi, because keep in mind, drastic. Most of the schools, if you notice, the only clear division between them is geography. Usually, geography is their main clear division, because most of North Africa has the Maliki school. Most of the Middle East, or
No, I would actually say that the differences between the various schools are actually rather radical.
oh no,
No,
I mean
I think Moose is making the point that in terms of where you're
geography,
likely
where they're
to,
located, location,
Yeah.
Yes, located, yes.
location.
But then again, there has always been, kind of mixed areas as well.
Yeah, for sure. But
Let me show you a map. I know there was a
I was
map.
about to say, I'm sure there was
used
a map,
one.
wasn't there, that divides up the Muslim
Yes,
world.
I used that map in my video about the Islamic sects.
Yeah. No, let's just open that map. 1 second.
Because I think you're right, isn't it? I think sort of South Asia is kind of dominated by one school, and then
Yeah, Hanafi.
the Middle
Hanafi is
East is
more South Asia.
Except, I think it's Malaysia and Indonesia where it's Shafi'i school.
Shafi school more towards the what do you call it, the
Well, I just wanted to say, in terms of the Amman message, I suppose in summary, I would say, in principle, it's not a bad thing that they did. They're trying to get some unity and maybe stop some of the takfiring that goes on. But does anybody really take it seriously? Because when it came out, nearly 20 years ago now. What was it? 2004 was it? I think the Amman.
I mean, the funny thing is that Dahiris would consider everyone else not to be, practicing.
It doesn't seem to stop the takfiring that goes on any more than before, as far as I know. I mean, well, I suppose before 2004, I wasn't particularly knowledgeable about Islam, but it seems the sectarianism is as strong as it ever has been. So I'm not sure if this message did any good work in terms of
it might not, but it might have also. The problem is that we are speaking about contrafactuals here, because it's possible that it would have been much worse.
Even yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I suppose you'll never know. But well, there certainly doesn't seem to have been any improvement in sectarianism in the last 18 years. And I know you could argue, obviously, there's been all the wars in the Middle East in that time, in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I would say that I've actually seen, at least it's in the Arabic world, I've seen that the kind of rhetoric has begun to change somewhat.
Yeah, what, for the worse or for the better?
For the better.
Okay, well, I'd like to believe that's true, but
people are becoming a little bit more tired of all this that has happened.
As in the sectarian, but keep in mind, it's still like there's still some polarization as well.
Yes. I'm not saying that there is not. I'm just saying that I'm still pessimistic, but there are some things that could be interpreted somewhat optimistically.
Okay, so here's the map. So the orange here is Maliki, like majority.
Oh, you were right, Ginny. You were right. Yeah, Maliki. Or no? Well,
I was right.
Moose, you were right. No, sorry, Moose, you were right. Yeah.
I was right.
Sorry, you better kick me off.
No, orange is predominantly Maliki, except Egypt. Egypt has the Hanafi, which is the lighter green.
But Egypt has a very large percentage of the Egyptians are Shafis.
Well, not according to this.
Though this is considered right?
And in the south, Malikis also exist.
So the same is true. Moose, I have to say that's interesting though. If you look at Egypt, and then also it looks like South Asia as well is Hanafi dominated.
Yes. Hanafi, South Asia, Afghanistan. You have Tajikistan and also the Russian.
Pakistan and well, but that's kind of interesting because I mentioned Ali Dawa, who I think he's of Pakistani extraction, and then Mohammed Hijab is of Egyptian extraction, so they could both be Hanafi if we just went based on their cultural background potential.
The thing is that there are actually a mix of schools in Egypt and in Syria. They are not purely one school.
Oh yeah, it's not monolithic, but I mean, they're just talking about the majorities, aren't they?
And for example, if you trusted this chart, why I'm saying, not saying that this one's bad. It's actually pretty good at showing the differences. But if you trusted this one, then you would think that the Hanbalis are only found in Saudi.
Well, I think
But-
it's just saying the
majority.
schools that are most dominant are,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
it's not saying that no other schools exist within
Yeah,
those
it's
countries.
just-
You know, one thing that is pretty funny about the Hanbalis are that they are actually, I think they are the second biggest school in Indonesia.
And even though Indonesia, like it's predominantly the blue is Shafi. So the
Yes.
Shafi is also in East Africa as well. So the East
Yes.
African side is predominantly Shafi, but also like notice here on this side of, is that Yemen or is that
That is Oman.
Oman? Okay, Oman has
But
Shafis.
What
those
are
that
the
are
East
not
African
Ibadis.
countries there? My geography of East Africa is pretty poor. Is that like Ethiopia or Eritrea or?
Let me just
That is Somalia.
Oh, it's Somalia, is it?
Somalia,
Okay.
yeah, African map. Let me just
And
double confirm.
Ethiopia is the big non-Muslim country that's it borders.
Yeah. But there's definitely Somalia comes there, and it's also close to, like, it's bordering Kenya, and then you have what do you call it? What is Sudan? Is Sudan?
No, Sudan
is
is
Maliki.
Maliki. That's
But they also have a lot of Shafis there as well.
There's a bunch of Shafis. There should be.
I mean, the thing is that these maps are just rough approximations.
Yeah.
But you know, one funny thing that I heard from a guy coming from Indonesia is that there are actually certain associations with certain types of Muslims, depending on which schools they go or follow. So, for example, you will always have the stereotype that I can't confirm this since I don't speak any language from Indonesia, but he said that in his country, if you say that you're a Hanbali, either you're like the Salafis and it's because you have been influenced from Saudi Arabia, or you're actually like the most extreme stereotype of a Sufi.
Yes. In this is also the stereotype in Pakistan as well too. In Pakistan,
That Hanbalis are Sufis.
Yeah. But no, that the Hanbali are the most extreme from Saudi Arabia. That exists as well.
Yes, that one. But most people don't realize that the Hanbali school was spread in the southeastern Asian islands by Sufism, which means that it's very strong associations there with the Qadiriya.
The Qadiriya, there's a strong association with Qadiriya even in Pakistan too. And you notice here, Pakistan, even though predominantly Hanafi, there's a lot of Hanbali adherents that also live in Pakistan, and a lot of Shafi adherents that also live in Pakistan, because there are mosques that actually, someone did ask me that this was, someone did tell me that they go to a particular mosque because the scholar, the imam, is from the Shafi, predominantly Shafi mosque.
I think it's interesting, Moose, just to go back to the Amman message, though. I mean, again, in principle, I think, okay, it's a nice thing to do to try and get this unity. But you look at the major sects that are excluded, like the Ahmadis, they are the ones who have suffered some of the worst persecution and would have benefited the most from being included in that message. And so you could sort of argue, it's a missed opportunity there. They might, if this message was going to help Muslim unity, the Ahmadis probably would have benefited the most by being included on that list, and yet they've been left off. And
they would, because again, they kind of can't stand the fact that it's there's someone else who's a last messenger, even though the same hadith, the same Quran, like almost all the teachings are exactly on the dot Sunni Islam.
It's not as if they don't revere Muhammad.
They are the Mormons of Islam.
Yeah, but the goal of it was to provide unity for the Islamic world and prevent the kind of sectarianism that we see. they've fallen really short in terms of even including, major groups that were being persecuted. They're not.
But I
even
don't
on the
think
list.
that the other signers would have agreed to actually sign it if they included the Ahmadiyya.
Yeah, there probably would have been like 3 people to agree that the
Yeah,
Ahmadis would have been included. Yeah.
Yeah. And interesting is that you mentioned Zaidi. Zaidi, this is Yemen, right? Like, 'cause Yemen has the Zaidi predominantly.
Yes.
Then we
They don't
have,
show Ibadi on that.
yeah, Ibadi should have been on this map too, because there are a lot of Ibadi.
It should be in Oman.
Yeah, and the Oman map. And Ithna Ashari are majority in Iran, of course, and Iraq, as well as there's the
And Azerbaijan.
Yeah, so these are the 3 states that it's predominantly Ithna Ashari or 12er Shia. So,
And it's the Azerbaijani Turks' fault that they are 12 or Shia.
is it Turkey's fault?
It's not Turkish, it's the Azerbaijani Turks.
Oh,
Because
That's
they
a
are
whole new show. That's a whole new
because
show.
because they are the Oghuz Turks that converted to 12er Islam and then later conquered Persia and established their Persian Turkish dynasty called the
so it
Safavids.
was the Safavids. Yes, they were originally Azerbaijani, the Safavids.
Yes.
And yet today Azerbaijan and Iran are actually on opposite sides of a conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Yes.
Border dispute. And
But historically there has actually been a lot of bad blood between the Turks and the Persians.
oh, for sure. Like, even this is like during the even pre-Ottoman times, I would say, even pre-Ottoman times. Like, they had like some battles with like the Turkic tribes, that is, with even the Sasanian period too.
Yes.
So there was a lot of there's been a lot of bad blood there.
And considering the shit that I have seen from both nationalist Persians and nationalist Turks, I just wish them both to go to.
You mean you just want to say you go to hell? Like, go to hell.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait.
Because seriously, they can be worse than most Islamists.
Really?
This is the gin and tonic show. You can tell them both to go fuck themselves. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the gin and tonic show. So we're free speech. We're pure free speech.
Free
because
speech.
we have no.
Sure, you are, but YouTube could give me the L.
Yeah. I could just, I'll just say that. I'll take the blame for it. But yeah, notice there's also European. I think, would these be Bosnia Herzegovina and
Yes.
Albania? I would say.
Yes, Albania.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
these are Hanafi.
But
These are also-
Albanians are actually pretty secular.
yeah.
So some of the Bosnians, to be fair, for the most
Yeah,
part.
Yeah, too.
So and what's interesting, Bangladesh is also like predominantly Hanafi, Bangladesh, and so these are some very interesting divisions. There's a little Maliki.
It's because of the Mughals.
Actually, there's some, and even in Palestine, there's Hanafi predominantly. But you keep in mind, there's the Shafi school was founded in Palestine, surprisingly, and is a presence of a Shafi presence there too. And there's a little orange hint just below Iraq too. So there is some Maliki presence in Iraq as well. So it's
Kuwait. It's not
is it Kuwait?
Iraq. Yes.
Oh yes,
Kuwait.
yes, that's Kuwait. Okay, my geography is really bad. But then again, we don't have the names of the countries here. So
And their version of Maliki, the thing with the Maliki school is that it's very parallelistic and has very many local traditions.
right.
So that type of Maliki school will probably be very different from the Maliki school found in, for example,
I say any
Libya.
Tunisia, like that. Yeah.
It would be quite kind of interesting, actually, if there was an alternative map that showed the Muslim populations of Europe, to see which predominates in places like England and France and Germany, etc. I'd be quite interested to see that, but
I'll try to find a map like that actually indicates.
But maybe that's for another show, because I think we've already run on past 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would think they'll do the next show will probably discuss that. And, we'll discuss some like interesting facts as well. So we don't want to
But yes, I think we should, call it a day. So we'll go around the circle. Culture, Jani, also overall topic, as well as overall, like, what, any last words? Croc's gun at you. Any last words?
I would say that the Amman message was an attempt, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, any attempt is good enough, at least.
At least from a Muslim perspective, this is a good attempt. What you're saying, yeah, it's attempt to unify the ummah, but it excludes some groups. But it was an interesting fact you mentioned why the Zahiri were even included to begin with. So that became interesting.
Because they seem kind of like a very strange group to just, all right, let's push them in.
Yeah, it's like, and imagine like including the Amish as well. So, drastic. Any final words?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just bring up the whole abortion thing. I thought it was really confusing, the rulings. I mean, it's essentially saying that yes, it's forbidden, but there's all sorts of caveats depending on whether the doctor did it or whether you somehow consented to it, even though it's forbidden, and you can pay blood money in different circumstances. So it's a bit of a mess, the whole abortion ruling. So yeah, I kind of have as much confusion now as I did at the start, but it was good. It was interesting to go through it, and the Shabir video was okay too. So yeah, good show.
I have my overall view is that like what I've seen so far is that this was in terms of an interesting discussion. With we looked at some Shia laws, like, which are Islam.org al-Islam.org is relatively a Shia website with the Khomeini's rulings. And we also heard like Dr. Shabir Ali, as well as we looked at a Sunni hadith too. So we looked at technically we looked at both sides, so we weren't like predominantly one. And usually the Sunni rhetoric tends to dominate, whereas the Shia even rhetoric rarely gets brought up. So I'm glad we did that. And what the Amman message, that is, this was very interesting. I'm still very surprised as why they didn't include the Ismaili school. And I'm also surprised that they did not, they included, what do you call it? There's Alawites as well were not included. So I was very surprised at that.
Yeah.
Very, very surprised at that. So these are the two groups, like even though they're Shia, even though they're considered a minority within a minority, they still have relatively, they have some relative leadership presence. So I'm very surprised that they were not included.
Yeah.
Instead, the Zahiri school of thought, which is almost like Amish-like, were included.
And that doesn't have more than a couple of thousand of
yeah, and
official believers.
And you have I don't think they mentioned the Ibadis. Oh no, they did mention the Ibadis.
Yes, they did mention them.
Which is good. They at least mentioned.
But the fact is that the Ibadis have 3 schools of fiqh.
Yeah.
They don't have one, and they didn't mention which. They just said Ibadi fiqh.
Ibadi fiqh, yeah. So I'm guessing one can make the assumption they can include all 3. That again, one can make that assumption based on the limited presence of the Amman message, that is. And this is just a small section we saw. We might look at it again, other aspects, but yeah, this goes to show that there's inclusion, but also there's division. So the numbers, like Drastic pointed out, he seems like your numbers are kind of dwindling if you actually cut off so many other groups as well. So, and yes, I forgot the Nation of Islam isn't here too. So this is interesting. I nearly forgot about the Nation of Islam. I nearly forgot about those guys.
In that
I think
case,
we should all forget about the Nation of Islam.
I can excuse them in that case.
You can.
I mean, they're barely Islamic, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. Yes. They're very barely Islamic. Very interesting though, because another professor I heard said that you could also include them. We came on Religion for Breakfast, Nation of Islam, but then he's contradicting the Amman message here at Fatwa as well. So it's.
Maybe that's the next show. on the
Yeah,
nations.
yeah.
There you go. It's a new
The next
topic.
show, or something we can discuss. But anyway, I think we should wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys. Nick had to take care of his nephew. Sorry, Nick. We'll probably join you on Discord.
Yep.
So I hope to see you guys all at Discord. I might be there for a little bit, but yeah, thank you for joining the Gin and Tonic show. And hopefully, I might try to find some material for a midweek review and stuff. I've just been like very busy. So thank you everyone for joining us.
No problem.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It was fun being here.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.